Welcome, Reds, to the 100% United pod. I'm your host, TC. Back alongside me today is your co-host, Ben. How you doing today, pal?
Yeah, I'm back, mate. I'm a little bit disheartened after that. I thought this pod was going to have a very different feel to it, but here we are again, aren't we?
Took a nasty turn there at the end, didn't it?
It really did, a massive turn for the worse.
Yeah, I was in a really blooming good mood. I was loving that match. It was fantastic for a while, wasn't it?
Just like United to spoil your weekend again, mate.
Yeah, they used to make my weekends, mate. That's the thing. If you look back through my life, they used to make my weekends. They used to be fantastic. But yeah, they've deserted me for the last few years, mate.
Yeah, we just needed a bit of a sheen on it tonight, didn't we? And it was going well for large parts, and then the whole end fell out, and then it's where we are now, isn't it?
Yeah, we are indeed. Anyway, on today's show, we will look back on a topsy-turvy night at Villa Park. 2-0 up through Bruno Fernandes and then pegged back to 2-2. Could have been even worse at the end there as well, Ben. Hard to make sense of that one, isn't it? Because we did the things that we've been asking for in terms of starting well and, taking the lead and then building on that lead. But then we just fell apart at the end there, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And I mean, going into the game today, I expected it might be a close one. I wasn't expecting us to pull up too many trees in terms of like going there and absolutely smashing them. I was expecting, being at the game, the cup game at home, I was expecting a close encounter again, much the same as what I thought would see. And I know we sort of flagged the dangers, didn't we, of when you have a double match fixture against the same opponents that this can bring. But yeah, I just felt that the first half there was a lot of positive to be had, but then it just all failed away and faded away. And we've mentioned it post Wolves, didn't we? How about getting too passive, and we'll go into it all. But it's just having that level of control. It's that control thing that Ralf has talked about multiple times. That again, it just cost us in the end.
Yes. It did, and there were times where we looked like we had more control today. I think we lost the possession battle certainly today to Aston Villa, which is a little bit shocking, really, when you think about it. But yeah, Ben, it was such a hard day because we've had these weeks where we've been a little bit up and down, but still, if you look at since Ralf took over, just look since Ollie left, we still only lost one game.
Yeah, and it's that thing, isn't it, that we try to not get too overreactive with these pods and even on the performance and stuff. And it's been that stuttering through, and it's been, even when we've been winning, it's not been wholeheartedly convincing. But we've always said, right, well, let's trust this process. Let's get the victory, and then we move on and want to try and find our feet, find a bit of form here, so we can properly kick on. But it's as soon as we take a step, it's like sometimes the floor beneath us just has gone away, and then we're back to where we were again, trying to get off that mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think today it's particularly saddening for us because we were 2-0 up and it looked like we'd finally do what we've been wanting to do. Like cruise a game, get some subs on when we're in a palatable position and dance away with the 3 points, close that gap to, let's not forget, by the way, it's West Ham is the fourth team in the top four. And just a bit of perspective, we're 5 points behind with a game in hand. So, these people saying that, we've chucked the Champions League and we're out of the race for the Champions League, they need to pull themselves together as well. Because I've been particularly annoyed in the last few weeks, Ben. Performances I've been annoyed with. The media reaction has been pathetic. But then the bedwetting from the United fans and following that media reaction is really got me down as well, Ben, because I honestly believe we're falling for the media's nonsense and we're jumping on, I've seen people jump on Ralf. I've seen people say, this team is just finished. There's no way we can ever get back to the top again, which is so hysterical. And yeah, I just wish we'd been able to hold on today and just take that big step forward that we've been needing. Because as I say, we've only lost one game. I'm not saying it's been perfect. I'm not saying it's been great either, but it's going to take time. And yeah, really saddening tonight, mate.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on both sides of it, because it's the realigned target for the season in the short term since Ralf has come in has been top four, and then it's been the cup competitions, hasn't it? That's what we've been saying over the past few weeks is that's what we want. We want to get that top four because that's what we need. That's the bread and butter. Obviously, at the start of the season, we wanted more, but look, it's realigned. You can't. I'd love to be dreaming out other stuff, but you can't right now. That's the realigned target and the cup competition. So we got through that this week, obviously with the win in the FA Cup, and then you're right. I think we're not at a situation where we're saying, "Oh, top four's gone and it's all needs to be torn up." We're not anywhere near that. And you're right, it's West Ham we're catching, and I fully believe we'll get top four. I've got absolutely no doubts about it at the minute, even after that game.
Exactly, and it's Arsenal and Spurs between us and West Ham.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and sure, they've got games in hands as well. So effectively, it could be a couple more points. But we're not talking about a massive chasm, and we're not talking about a City or a Liverpool who are the ones who have got the advantage. We're talking about bloody West Ham here. So everyone, pull yourselves together a little bit, because I think the problem is we've got used to it, right? It's like it's almost like we've got used to the pain. And sometimes you need to say, look, let's put an end to this. Let's believe and hope that we're going in the right direction. We've got an interim manager, right? We haven't even got a permanent manager at the moment. So it's going to take time. We were losing by big margins before the change happened. And since the change has happened, it has been a vast improvement in terms of results. So a bit of perspective. I'm more annoyed about the situation tonight rather than the team or Ralf. I have got my criticisms of both. But yeah, I'm more disappointed that we just didn't get that 3 and close that gap and be in a position where we actually are within firing distance of the top 4.
Yeah, well, I think the annoyance tonight comes from because we saw good things from the team. You know, that first half, at times, it was some of the best football we've played in probably under Ralf in total, really. And then some of the attacks, I thought we were brave on the ball in that first half, that first 45, especially the first sort of 20 minutes. Yeah. And then I think the annoyance comes from the fact that we got that 2-0 victory. You thought we were going to marshal that a tough game, really, marshal the Villa pressure in that second half and come through to the side and defend it well. And then we didn't do that. So that's where the annoyance comes from, the fact that we did it up to a point and then we let ourselves down by conceding the 2 goals and only drawing the game.
It's like we could have done it today, right? We did everything to put ourselves in the position to do it. And then we blew it, which is almost more upsetting than the times where we don't show up. And I can just say, look, that team today did not represent what I believe is Manchester United. You know, let's go and have a nice weekend and try to forget about it. But today, you know, they almost did it, which is more frustrating for some reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, it always is, isn't it? Because it's like seeing what you could have had. That's the whole point, isn't it? We're 2-0 up and seeing the strong position we were in, and Bruno pulling us through, and then you're right that the annoyance comes from the fact that we've let that go. So yeah, let's get stuck into it, because I think we've got plenty to say on the performances and the events and everything that came with it, haven't we?
We do absolutely, mate. And look, there are positives to take out of the match, and there will be things we can build on from the match. The result and the way it happened obviously is horrible to take, but at least we've got some, you know, passages of play there for minute after minute where we can say, look, that's how we want to be for now, and then maybe go up a level and get back to being an absolute top team. Look, let's start with the lineup, Ben. David De Gea in goal, as you'd expect. There has been rumours now that Dean Henderson is pushing for a move away. There was also talk that he stormed out after hearing that he wasn't going to play in the cup game against Villa. What do you make of that?
I mean, the actual rumours, I don't know about that one. Maybe it is true, but just on the terms of the cup game, I had a sneaky feeling that it might even be with a starting spot for the cup game against Villa. You know, we've seen it in the past of managers using different keepers for the cup. I know even the form that De Gea's been in. And then when I saw he wasn't even on the bench, then I thought, well, that's the biggest indication yet that whether it's whether we're muting a permanent move or whether it's a loan deal that's been talked about to the end of the season, I think that was the clearest indication that maybe there is something in it, because otherwise you would have thought it'd at least be on the bench.
Do you not think that possibly points towards the fact the rumours are true, that David De Gea was picked, Henderson was put on the bench, he stormed out, Heaton goes on the bench?
Yeah, mate, look, I wouldn't disagree with that fact looking at it, because there's got to be something in, hasn't there? You can understand Henderson wanting the shot. I think it's the fact that he's not been in the side this season. When it comes down to it, it's been more bad luck on his part than anything in terms
timing wise.
Yeah, well, he got COVID, didn't he, at the start of the season? Then because we all expected him really to start the season possibly being the number one, and then he got COVID. Then obviously De Gea's come into the best form we've seen it. Well, possibly the best form we've seen him for some years. So Yeah, but then you can't argue the fact that De Gea is playing every game at the minute because he's in such good form. So you can understand both sides of it and both sides of frustration. But the fact that he wasn't involved, to me, that immediately thought there's something going on here where he could be. I hope on a level that it's a loan deal rather than a permanent one, because I think there's still a place for Dean Henderson at United in the future. But I can understand him from a personal level. You know, he's got goals of wanting to go to the World Cup with England, wanting to be the number one for his country. You can understand the frustration of not playing every week, but then when you see who's ahead of him, that's the reason why.
Yes. And look, I think, of course, you don't want people storming out of training, but you also have to look back through the years, because I know social media wasn't so prevalent back in the day and the internet was not so prevalent either, but we still got news through. And you know, there was that night where Paul Scholes refused to play for Manchester United, don't forget. Selected in the League Cup at Arsenal, refused to play for Manchester United. I mean, that's as bad as it gets, Ben. That's despicable behaviour. So, of course, he apologised and managed to wriggle out of it. And that was when he was a youngster as well. So when we're talking about, you know, and of course, I think sometimes we should be harsher on the current players. But there are times as well where you have to say, okay, but just because we were winning at that time, we allowed it to slide. It was still despicable behaviour then. So, I mean, that is far worse, isn't it? Refusing to play for United. So you always have to look at a little bit of history to say it's not maybe as bad as we think.
Oh yeah, can you imagine if Twitter had existed back then?
Oh mate, I'm so glad it didn't. I'm so glad it didn't.
It'd been off the
I
scale.
mean, yeah, because I think it's better to know less about them, right? I mean, you know, when you think about we think about people like Giggsy, right? I'm glad I didn't know what Giggsy was up to back in the day.
Yeah, I think, you know, I mean, even with these rumours, whether they're true or not, I think they're coming out every week, aren't they? If someone gets dropped, it's automatically there in a foul mood. And I think, well, obviously, you want players that maybe you don't want them storing out of training, of course you don't, but the players want to play, of course they do. Every player in that squad wants to be in that starting 11. That's the whole notion. If you don't get picked, yes, there's a way to go about it and deal with it, but to a level, you want them to be a bit miffed off and a bit annoyed that it's just the way they channel it that needs to be right.
You're spot on, Ben, and that's kind of the point I'm making as well. That Scholes, a winner. He wanted to play. He was furious. He acted in the incorrect way. You know, he let the club down, but he wanted to win. That was a desire to win. That's the same with Henderson there, right? He's saying, look, and to be fair, if you're gonna have a young keeper, a young ambitious keeper on the bench, it comes with these kind of conditions that you have to play them in the cup. And I said this at the time, I said it was a disaster waiting to happen. It's going to end in tears. It's always better to have an experienced backup, Ben. It's always the way United did it back in the day. Always been best. You have a young contender in number 3 who never plays, maybe once. You know, you're Kevin Pilkington. And that's the way you do it. You know, having a young keeper. Mourinho started it, didn't he? Back in the day. Mourinho started it with, he had that Portuguese keeper. What was his name? Who used to play in the cup for him? Was it Ricardo?
Ricardo, yeah. He had it at Madrid as well. Was it Lopez as well when they had the
he
two
started
him
at Chelsea.
Casillas?
So
yes.
Czech would step out. And I think it was Ricardo would step in. It might be someone else. I might be wrong. And then, of course, they had Cudicini as well, competing with Czech. So they changed the landscape in terms of having, you know, real contender, and Mourinho would play the backup in all the cups. Back in the day, that didn't happen so much. Maybe the League Cup when you play the youngsters. So yeah, I kind of see both sides of it. I totally, if you want to win the match, you want to go through in the cup, you play your best players. Manchester United, I always want us to play our best players. So yeah, it's. I see both sides of the story with that one.
Yeah, and I think it's a situation that Ralph's inherited rather than implemented, isn't it? Because it was, like we said, it was rumbling on last season, the start of this season. Like we said, the timings maybe went against Dean in the terms of his COVID and stuff. But the form of De Gea, I think, because the cups are so important the rest of this season now as well, I think Ralph's main important priorities is making this team work for the next 6 months, making us us challenge for these cups and get into the top four. So whatever decision he makes on a week by week basis is to do that. So if he thinks that De Gea isn't worth the risk dropping, then you've got to agree with that. But then again, you're right. You can understand that Dean Henderson wants to play of the week because he's good enough to do that for a top club.
Yeah, and you have to remember Ralph's inherited all of these problems. He did not sign these players, apart from the 4-2-2-2, which he's got rid of, so fair play to him.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Ben, I have to pull you up for a sec. Is Henderson good enough to play for a top team every week?
I think so. I think he's got it in him, yeah. And when I say top team, I'm talking sort of, top half Premier League at least, maybe top six, top eight. We're not talking like leading goalkeeper in the league. Yeah, we're not talking like leading goalkeeper in the league. I think he might have it in his bag to be there in a few years' time. But I think, look, if he leaves United, he's not going to go up, is he? I think that's the question. If he leaves on a permanent, he's going to a club below us. That's without a doubt.
I guess if he makes it at United, it would be a combination of his skills, but also his love of the club, his United fan, and all those things. Because if he was playing for someone else, you wouldn't buy him for 50 million for instance, would you?
No.
That's not something you'd be crying out to do. And actually, I've thought through a lot of our squad, and there's a few players who I would not be scrambling to buy if they were playing for a lesser team either, and some big names as well. So anyway, let's get through this team, Ben. Dalot and Tellez back as the first choice fullbacks again. And then we actually had Lindelof with Varane this time in the middle. And as I say, in midfield, Matic, Fred, Bruno. And then up top, we had Greenwood, Cavani, with Ronaldo not making the squad. And then with Anthony Elanga out on the left.
Yeah, good to see Elanga there. I thought when he came on against Villa in the Cup, he really injected something into the game. I know he only had a cameo really, but the fact he was coming, he was very lively. He was able to take people on and be a bit fearless, get the crowd going at one point. And I think he's been one that Ralph's been impressed with since he got in the door, for everything you can hear coming out of even Carrington training sessions and then the little cameos he's got. And it's for him to get the start. I think he fully warranted it, absolutely. And I think looking at the rest of the lineup, obviously, the absentees Ralph sort of explained. I think Maguire was the interesting one because I think it spoke a lot for his form pre-injury, the fact that he's not come straight back into the team. Now, he might not be fully match fit, but we know Harry Maguire as being a player that would, even if he was 78-80% fit, he'd have been put in the starting lineup in previous seasons, wouldn't he, in previous games?
I mean, is that not a great thing, right? That potentially Maguire and Ronaldo could have made today, and we've basically said, look, a player is always going to say they are fitter than they are. We're going to make the decision for you, because we know full well Maguire and Ronaldo would have said we'll play. So that was a good move in the right direction, I think. Although we didn't get the points, still, I think that is something we need to do more of in the future, because our medical history and our injuries and our players coming back from injuries and picking them up again, our record's shocking, Ben.
Yeah, and maybe even just a slight message to Maguire as well, just the fact that, we've spoke about his captaincy, his form before he got injured, and maybe it's just a message to say you're not walking straight back into this team, even if you are fitting off the bench. You've still got to earn your way back in. Maybe that is a little bit of an indicator for that.
Yeah, and I'm really hoping that Ralph has done that, and I'm hoping Ralph also has done. Remember, I was talking about potentially making Ronaldo captain and then potentially dropping him sometimes. Remember, what I was basically saying is that, of course, we know you have to stroke some players' egos. Some players are so good, you need to stroke their ego. So if Ronaldo is always having to prove his value, then he wants to play every second, or he wants to play every minute. But if you make him skipper, and then you start dropping him sometimes, bringing on as an impact sub sometimes, of course, playing him in all the big games, you make him feel special in one way, and you do what's best for the team in another way, right? So you get the best of both worlds. I hope we're moving towards that with Ralph. Maybe not with Ronaldo as skipper, that doesn't matter so much. But we saw today, there is a way we can play without Ronaldo. But on the other hand, Ronaldo is the man who can get you the goals that win you the Champions League semi-final, right? And you beat a team that probably you're not as good as, but he propels you to that glory. And that's what we need to be looking at. So that's the job of the manager, isn't it? You've got Ronaldo. How can you use him best? I hope he is starting that move to make Ronaldo, of course, the fulcrum of the team, the global face of the team, but also sometimes take him out of the firing line for his own good, if anything.
Yeah, well, everything's a balancing act, isn't it? And like you said, that's the job of the manager, is managing the team, managing the players, managing the egos, because there's a hell of a lot of them in this team. Of course, there is. There is with any decent player, any world class player is going to come with their own ego. Ronaldo more so than anyone is going to think he's the best in the world. But every player should be striving to that, and we know we should be all striving to that. But you're right, it's that balancing act. I thought Cavani, we've looked good with him in the team leading that line. I thought, especially the formation as well. I thought this sort of 4-2-3-1, but it's a very more, at times it's asymmetric, isn't it? Because it's that we've got a deep, that double pivot isn't so obvious in this side. It's one dropping in. I think it was Fred that was deeper. McTominay was marauding more in the cup, and then it was switched around tonight. It was Matic as the deeper one, and Fred at times he was higher than Bruno, wasn't he? He was the one that was sort of let off the leash a little bit. So
yeah, and fair play to Ralf doing that as well, because he came in with a 4-2-2-2. It obviously wasn't working, and when we were saying, look, this has got to go, it did go. Right, it was just a logical decision made by Ralf, which is nice to see, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you've got to be flexible, haven't you? The manager's got to show he's got to be flexible. The players have got to show they've got to be flexible. At the end of the day, the early parts of this era underneath Ralf, this managerial era, is to work out what is the best way of getting this team to gel, getting this team to play, because there's a lot of holes in it. There's still holes in it, as we've seen today. There's still stuff that needs to be sorted. So that's the way to do it. But you're right. You can't have someone that comes in and says, this is because we know Ralph's here for 6 months and then it's a different role afterwards. It can't be, this is how we're going to play for the next 3 years. It needs to be a process along the way.
And that has to be kept in our minds at all times. It really does. And I think I have faith in Ralf that he knows the job well enough, because he's done it before. He's been interim before. He's been interim laying, getting those things in place, getting rid of a few things that you don't really want in a club. He is, we're talking about egos. I think in the squad we have more world-class egos than we do world-class players. But Ralf has a kind of course, I'm sure he has an ego. He's a successful guy, but his ego seems in check, and he seems to be doing the job for the good of the club, right? I mean, his job is quite specific. So we do need to keep that in mind. We do need to keep in mind that he's not trying to implement a style and a culture that will stay set in stone for 3, 4, 5 years. He is gradually trying to change things and see in which direction we should point this ship. So, yeah, look, mate, let's get stuck into the game. A couple of early corners for United, and we reached our century without a goal from a corner. Quite the knock from us, I must say. Of course, we've already got stuck into our double century, but yeah, that's quite a hefty number, Ben, for us not to score from a corner.
Yeah, it's become the bit of a joke now, isn't it? Every time we get a corner, it goes through your mind, doesn't it? It's either on commentary, you're either at the ground and it's mumbling it, or it's always the thing, and then we hit a corner, it's like, oh, another one that we've not scored from. No, it's a really poor feat, and it needs to be improved. But what can we say? It wasn't again, was it, really, from corners?
And we still never try a front post flick on. I don't get it, honestly. I really don't get it. If I was struggling with corners, you just go to a front post flick on, don't you? It's the cheat code from corners. Anyway, it was all us in the first 5 minutes, and it was set piece central, wasn't it? We had set pieces all over the shop, and Tellez and Bruno were teaming up, and they're quite a nice pair to have over the ball. And on the 6th minute, Tellez, he ran over the ball. It looked like he just left it. Bruno started dribbling off. You think, what's going on here? Bruno has a shot from downtown straight at Martinez, and somehow Taibbi-esque let it squirm through his legs, and Bruno had put us 1-0 up after 6 minutes.
Oh, it was lovely, wasn't it? It was the right thing to cap off, like you say, a bright start, because we were all over them. We were positive, we were aggressive, and that little bit of trying something a little bit different, a little bit brave to just try something out of the ordinary early on that we saw. I think in the first game against Palace under Ralf, and we tried a little inventive corner and we didn't know what had hit us. And it was the same thing here, wasn't it? Just try something a little bit different, try and catch them off guard. And we got a massive helping hand for Martinez that was whinging like I don't know what, trying to call offside when Tyrone Mings was playing everyone back 5 yards onside. It was a joy to see, and it was exactly what we wanted in them first moments of the game.
It was brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant. And just to clarify, Tellers, of course, did get a tiny little touch, didn't he, on the ball as he ran over it. So, the easiest assist he'll ever make. Bruno, he caught a bit of turf, didn't he, as he was striking the ball. So it was a really, a much weaker strike than Bruno intended. But a little bit of revenge, if you like, on Martinez, because I believe it was Martinez who was giving it the large one when Bruno missed a penalty, wasn't it?
Oh, swinging his hips about, wasn't he, to the United fans?
Giving it the large one. Wasn't so blooming confident now. Let's see your boogie now, Martinez.
Yeah, he was boogieing up to the referee, trying to call for offside, wasn't he?
Not offside.
Oh, not any stretch of the imagination, no.
But yeah, you're right. It's good. A little bit of invention. If you're not doing it, if you're not scoring from set pieces, try something different. I'm all up for that. I love something a little bit tricky. So yeah, great to see 1-0 up. And there was a slight Villa reaction to the goal, around the ground. But we held pretty firm. There was nothing too much to worry about, and a pretty decent start then.
Yeah, it was, and I think that's one thing you can see under Ralf, and I think we saw it in the cup as well, that we do start these games bright. We do have a bit of a bright spark these first 10 minutes, and we do tend to swarm over the opposition and try and be brave and try and be positive. And I think you saw that again tonight. I mean, look, we'll go into what happened next, but those first sort of 10, 11 minutes I thought were really, really positive, and then that sets the tone then, doesn't it? You're right. The atmosphere will change a little bit. Villa fans will get behind Villa and want them to obviously react to it, but that's what you want, and that's what you want the game to be, and then it settles in after that. But yeah, that's exactly what we needed for the first sort of moments of the game, and I think it's something that I think you can definitely say has improved under Ralf.
Yes, and Fred whipped in across from the right. It's his new little trademark move, isn't it? Right hand side, left foot across. He does it beautifully, doesn't he?
It does. Shades of the goal midway, wasn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But he did it again. Alanga headed wide at the far post, but he's got it's his little perfect zone. It's his comfort zone, if you like. So yeah, brilliant from Fred. Alanga was hard header at the far post. I did notice. I kept on thinking, who's that? Isn't that Matic over there on the far side? And then I realised Greenwood must have shot up again. His frame and his size. He's definitely got taller again, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's great. And look, he was going into this game, wasn't he? Because he was. I thought we were calling out, weren't we, on the previous pod to put him close to the opposition goal, to get him away from these sort of number 10 roles and push him up. And I thought, even in these first few moments, with Alanga on the left, Greenwood on the right, I just felt there was something that seemed just right about that them wide forwards that they could really pin in on the Villa fullbacks and centre halves, and both when they got the ball, they were immediately looking to take on people and drive inside, and there was just something sort of pleasing to see, wasn't it, when there was, especially in those first sort of 15, 20 minutes.
And look, if Rashford's playing so badly, if he's stinking the place out so badly, then he doesn't give you the things that a traditional winger does, but he also doesn't give you the assists and the goals at the moment, or the taking on the men, or the blooming, the good attitude and the good energy that he used to bring. So just get a proper winger out there in Alanga, do the job, simple, do the things that wingers should do. This is what I've been saying for years now, since, in the Ollie years, that we have got... It shouldn't be a problem changing one player in the team. It shouldn't be a problem taking out one winger and putting another one in. It shouldn't be a problem taking one midfielder out and putting another one in. But we got into this mind frame. It was led by the way Ollie managed, that you start thinking that if we don't have this 11, we're finished. We're buggered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And it should be able to just interchange players and come in, and you'll have different levels of ability and different things that people can bring. But even looking at Tellez for Shaw tonight, and you think, like, I thought Shaw was decent in the cup on Monday night, but you saw the difference. Tellez brings a little bit something different to his game, both attackingly and defending, both good and bad. But it's still a like for like change in that respect, and you're not worrying as much when the change is made.
We were talking about that. We were talking about Delo as well, weren't we? We were talking about all of them. So yeah, Absolutely, and yeah, I honestly, I thought Matic, I thought maybe Ralf had brought some of these special German potions over with him, blooming TRT or something. I thought it was like Benjamin Button over there. I was thinking, blooming hell, Matic.
Doing step overs as well, I
Oh,
thought.
mate, yeah, dazzling stuff. I was thinking, here we go. On the 16th, Fred got away with one, I have to say. And again, this is something that Fred does. He's a repeat offender for this. In attack or defence, every single game, the pass is so easy, but he just doesn't compute that the man might move, that the man might stick his leg out. So he sees the man there and he just tries to curl it around the man. And you know what's going to happen. The guy's going to stick his leg out and he's going to intercept again. Every single game from Fred, either in attack or defence, he plays a pass that you learn when you're like 12, right? That if I keep playing these passes, they get intercepted every time. I have to understand the player moves. So, yeah, weird from Fred, but we did get away with it, as I say. And then the 18th, you mentioned Tellez giving more in attack. And of course, and in defence, to be fair, he defends that far post pretty well. I've seen some shocking defence of that far post on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side, Wan-Bissaka and Shaw. And I think Tellez does do all right back there, but he caused carnage on the 18th, Ben. The delivery in, Cavani hurt himself trying to get a touch. And I have to say, unfortunately, Martinez was out superbly to block Mason Greenwood, point-blank range. But again, just a sign of that. You choose that more attacking left-back and you get those few extra chances.
Yeah, I think Shaw's got it in his locker too to put crosses in like that. But I know what you mean.
They're not quite as lethal, are they?
Tellez, I think, will try it more often than not, even if it doesn't come off every time. This obviously the time it did, but I think he will be the one that immediately when he gets the ball, he's taking a touch and he's knocking it in. You know for exactly what he's going for, and yeah, it was a superb ball, and it was. Yeah, to be fair, Martinez, the keeper, did well to rush out because he just narrowed that angle, didn't he, before Greenwood could really get onto the ball. So you can't really criticise Mason there because his options were very limited. He tried to just stick it in. And we've seen it sometimes when you hit it hard and it comes on the underside of the keeper or gets a deflection, yeah. Sometimes it goes in. This time it was just unfortunate not to.
It was. And then there was a dazzling run from Mason Greenwood as well, from deep again, 21st minute. I was thinking, Ben, this is going to be a great trait for, of course, Greenwood's. He's a spring chicken, isn't he? So he may see a few generations of United sides or a few different United sides throughout the years. And that ability to start, to protect the ball from deep and burst from deep, it's great in the team we have now. But when we have a good team again, Ben, it is going to be fantastic because that burst is going to lead to, your number 10 taking it and feeding the strike, and we're going to get goals from it instead. At the moment, it relieves the pressure and it gives us an insight as to how good this player can be. But whether it is playing a nice pass from deep, bursting from deep, he protects for someone who is basically born a centre forward. He protects the ball deep better than most.
Yeah, it does. Now, I always think when it's those type of players, especially those wingers, those forward, those attacking players, when a player looks like they're gliding across the pitch, that's when you know they've got some real quality, and that's what it looked like he was doing, wasn't he? His sleight of movement with his shoulders, just to drop a shoulder, and the Villa defender would go the other way, and then he'd come out the other side, he'd do a step over, but it'd be with such ease and glide past him. And you're right, we just need to build around that. So when he does that, he can then find the pass and then get on the end of it, or he's got another option. There were a couple of times like this, weren't there, where he got past him and then it was just like, right, he just needs another option.
What he does is he
forced back.
he beats the men and then he starts beating men across the field so he can get over to the support.
Yeah.
Right, so he starts driving across the field so he can find the one or two guys who are up with him. In a good team, you got 4 or 5 up with you, So, yeah, that is something that will be a great trait for the future, and it's a brilliant trait right now. But he's so good at it that I encourage him to do it. Like with someone like Pogba, for instance, the percentage of times he gets us into trouble from deep, I think the amount he does it is wrong. Scholesy, he towed the line, didn't he? he was so good from deep, but then he did some such daft stuff from deep as well, like every single match. But it was almost like that was just Scholesy, wasn't it? It was part of the package. But with Mason, when he tries something from deep, a pass, a run, I'm all for it because the percentage of success is blooming high. So fair play to him.
Yeah, there were a couple of sort of times tonight that even when he was defending as well in our own half, when he got the ball, it wasn't just
This is what I mean. This is what I'm talking
rushed.
about. When I'm saying deep, I'm talking about in our own half. Yeah.
It wasn't a rushed clearance, was it? It
No,
was
he's
a
clever.
controlled ball, but then it came to the likes of Fred, and then
Yeah.
there was a bit of panic on there, and it's like it's
Exactly.
almost word for nothing then. So no, I can totally see what you mean, but
you know what I love, Ben, is
go on.
that he does this, and then you look and you think, who's there for the pass? It's bloody him again, right? So he started the move, and he's the one ready for the pass as well.
Yeah, no, he did seem to come into his own tonight some multiple times. And look, I think he was unlucky not to score tonight as well, because he found himself in some decent positions. And even though we know, we've just mentioned there, him doing it deep, I think the slight tactical tweak of having him on that right forward side rather than inside means that when he's near the Villa box and he's taking on men, then he's causing all sort of panic rather than being on his own sort of, or even on the halfway line.
I couldn't agree more. I think, of course, he gets back and defends on that right wing, but also when he's attacking, he's in a position where he can manipulate the ball and get it onto one of his feet, right? Which we need. In that withdrawn number 10, it's just not quite right at the moment. So, yeah, I totally agree with that. Look, a couple of minutes later, Alanga had a penalty appeal. He kept it alive, though, didn't he? And Cavani was onto it in a flash. Unfortunately, no one in the middle. And then Dean crunched a load, didn't he? It was a really bad tackle. That was a top yellow, wasn't it? If you like.
Yeah, it was a really strange tackle as well. When he got absolutely nowhere near the ball.
Weird, yeah, very weird. And from the free kick, Tellez whipped one in. It was begging for a touch. Martinez saved, and then Greenwood under pressure on his right foot on the edge of the box, shot just wide, didn't it? It's one of those ones we've seen him just pull the trigger with not much backlift and bury it. It was just the wrong side of the post.
Yeah, it was, but he didn't panic, did he? He managed to find the little space for himself to work the chance out, and I think dropped his shoulder again and let a Villa player go the other way. And you're right, on another day we've seen him hit there was sweetly into the top corner, but it was just dragged it a little bit, didn't he? And it goes wide.
I'm not worried about his shooting, Ben.
No,
so
absolutely not.
If for a period of time the other parts of his game develop and the shooting takes a back seat, I'm all for that. That's absolutely fine. We actually had Matic booked, didn't we, on the 30th? I think Villa players can claim an assist with that. There's no way that Coot was the ref was digging for his yellow there until the Villa players got in his ear, following, of course, the Dean booking. It's such a typical thing for a referee to do. He's just given a yellow. Next foul, he gives a yellow as well. And when that foul, if it happened before the first booking, is never getting a yellow. It's such a crap way to referee, honestly.
Yeah, and I thought he set himself up, the referee, then, because he set the Digne yellow card's an absolute obvious one, but the Matic one, if you give that a yellow card, you've got to give every challenge after that's like that a yellow card. And I thought there were a number of times where, I'm not saying this had an effect on the result, but when Villa players did it, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Douglas Luiz got booked in the whole game, and how he didn't is ridiculous.
Yes. You know what? I was going to mention this at the end, but yeah, this ref, he's so bad. Honestly, he's so weak. He's such a weak referee. He gets led by the crowd. He gets led by the blooming players. He tries to even things up all the time. He's such a blooming wet lettuce. He really is.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it, that we've noticed. Like, obviously, look, it seems a long time ago that we were mentioning football without crowds, but he just did get led by the crowd and by the players, didn't he? And it was just that momentum that came through. That you need a strong ref, especially in these sort of games when there's the potential. I mean, every game has the potential to get a bit tasty, doesn't it? But you've got to manage it in these early moments, really, and because you set your stall out as a referee, then you're completely going against what you've already done if you don't book every player that makes that challenge.
Exactly. You're chasing your own tail, aren't you? It was rubbish as always from Coot. Whenever I see him signed up for the game, I always know he's going to have a bloody shocker. He's useless. Greenwood launched another attack from deep. Bruno didn't quite put enough on it on the return ball to Mason again, but as we say, Mason's the one offering himself after launching the attack. And then Ollie Watkins had a shot. Easy work for David De Gea. And Greenwood had another chance, this time on the left, beaten away by Martinez as well. So nice to see Greenwood getting some shots off as well. As you say, the tactical tweak probably benefited him.
Yeah, and I think if you look at his sort of chances he had today and the shots he had, I wouldn't say you could criticise him really too much in any of them. But the fact that he's getting the shots off, the fact that he's getting the chances, and it's more often than not, like I said, it's him making the chances or him making a pass that leads up to him having his own chance. I think
Yeah.
you can take a lot of positive from that. And there's been games in even the past couple of weeks that we've said we've not created enough. And I thought even tonight, if he sticks one away, we're saying what a goal he's done to stick that in from there. So yeah, the fact that he's taken these shots on is only a positive thing.
Yeah. And De Gea was called into action again. He is solid stop this time from Buendia header from a corner. And again, the commentators were saying De Gea saves United again. I would say, Ben, I think De Gea made 6 or 7 saves today, right? I always, with a keeper, I always look at what if he'd let it in, right? What if the save he's just made, what if he'd let it in? If David let any of those in, it would have been a shocker.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the truth, right? But what I will say is that Dave is on top confidence at the moment. And when he made the saves, the ball was getting pushed and parried and smacked away from the danger zone, right? His footwork, his positioning was absolutely tremendous. So I'm not saying De Gea didn't have a good game. I'm just saying he didn't have a great game. He just did his job. That's his job. So, yeah, if he'd let any of those in, it would have been a shocker. But he is top level at the moment in terms of all those little extras, all those shots that possibly you make a little bit of a clumsy save and it drops in the 6-yard box. He's not giving them away.
No, he's not. And you're right. He was controlling everything he did, and you expect him to make those saves, and of course he did do. I think the graphic flashed up on Sky Sports saying that he'd made the most saves out of everyone in the league, keepers this season, which I think when you're looking at that stat and you're thinking, geez, and you even think to some of the games where they've conceded a lot of goals and thinking he's still making the most amount of saves, that just shows you the amount of shots.
What about the 10 we let in that week?
Well, exactly, yeah. And he's still the top in terms of saves. You're thinking, how much is our goal being peppered when you're thinking, you look at teams at the bottom, you're thinking Norwich, Newcastle, you think how many shots they must concede a game.
Oh.
And De Gea is the top for saves.
Well, Newcastle share keepers, right? Dubravka's played a bit and that other one's played a bit as well, right? So that would explain that, right? Because De Gea's played every game.
Yeah, that's
right.
fair.
Watford as well. They've shared keepers. Palace has shared keepers, right?
Yeah, so
you have to bear that in mind, right? If the keeper's played half the games, then he's going to make him way less saves.
I'm taking that, but I think he still should be a bit further down the list.
No, I agree. I'm just balancing it up a little bit here.
No, absolutely. You balance it up, but I think it just shows you that we're allowing a hell of a lot of shots to be peppered at the goal, aren't we?
I still can't deny that, Ben. I can't deny. I'm trying to stay positive tonight. I'm sure you can tell. I'm through. I don't know whether to laugh or cry, so I'm going for laugh. But when we talk about the last 30 minutes, I might cry a little bit. Look, mate, there was a bit of a spell from Villa at the end of the first half. Quick free kick from them around the 38th after we'd had a little bit of a spell. And again, this is one of the reasons, adds to the reasons why I'm disappointed tonight. When they took that quick free kick, the whole team reacted. The guys near the ball, the defence, the structure was right, the formation was in play. I was thinking, oh, God, this is the right direction. We're under pressure. They've taken a quick free kick. Every single player has reacted in the way you want them to react. For the last while now, you see 2 or 3 reacting, 3 or 4 half reacting, and the rest not reacting at all. So it was another positive sign at this stage, of course. I do have to say that. It was good to see. And then Cash smashed into Alanga's knee on the 41st minute as well. No yellow for that. It was after the yellows that had been given. I thought that was a bit of an oversight from the referee.
Yeah, you can probably compare it with Matic, can't you? He was nowhere near getting the ball, and he'd come through the man to try and get there. So it was a clear foul. And if you're going to give a yellow for one, you've got to give it a bowl for it, haven't you?
Well, it was certainly more dangerous. That's one thing for sure. But yeah, we're picking at things there. It wasn't too big a deal. De Gea, another save, this time from Dean. Strong again, but again, stuff he should be saving. Alanga danced into the box on the 44th, and it was a decent half from Alanga, wasn't it? A decent half, back in the side, and did himself some favours, didn't he, going forward?
Yeah, I think the biggest compliment you can really say is he didn't look out of place at all. He
No,
looked every bit a United first team player on that left hand side. He was a direct threat whenever he got the ball. He was running at players. Villa defenders, you could tell, didn't want to front him up and let them take him on. They were trying to double up on him, and even in that cash challenge, trying to get in on him when they could because they didn't want him to turn and run at the defence. So yeah, I thought he did well in the ball, he did well without the ball. And yeah, covered himself really well. But just like I say, those last sort of 10 minutes that Villa had the real pressure just before we got to half time and then we get in. You're getting at half time and thinking, okay, that's what we want, because Villa are going to have spells in this game, in this half, where they're going to be on top, where they're going to try and attack. You know, they're at home, they've got the home fans behind them. That's what you expect. But whereas in the cup game, I was thinking at half time, I think we've got a bit lucky here because Villa should have and could have had 2 goals, you know, hitting the bar, missing an open goal. And you're thinking in that first half, there weren't really, like, obviously De Gea made a couple of saves, but there weren't really things that you were saying, oh, we could be 2 down here, or we could be a couple of goals to the good. It was, I thought we mastered it pretty well, and that's the disappointing thing, that how the second half went, is because we got through that and you thought, right, decent half of football, we've managed any pressure that we've come under fairly well. Now kick on again.
Of course, mate. I will say one thing that I did. The end of the half, we basically, I think we had a corner or something, broke to the edge of the box. But anyway, Bruno had a pass. I think it was Bruno out to Alanga, who's now on the right, and Alanga had, he had a bit of space out there. And it was like the 40. I mean, we played till after the 50th minute, didn't we? So I think it's 48th, 47th, 48th, 49th minute, something around there. And we chose to go back and keep the ball. And it seemed like a bizarre decision to me. We're 1-0 up. You've got a chance to get the ball out to the wing and whip one in. The time it takes to take a goal kick anyway. I just thought that was I see this a lot from this United side, that we're just happy to just take the 1-0 and go in at half time. When, look, if there's 2 up for grabs, let's take 2. So yeah, that was one thing I thought that possibly we should have done differently. Alanga had a shot deflected behind, and then Tellez's delivery finally let him down, didn't it? He was free on the left. He should have fired it into the 6-yard box, tried to be clever, tried to find the guy coming in on the edge of the box, and it fizzled out.
Yeah, he either sort of made 2 options, didn't he? Fire it straight away, or even take his time to actually pick the pass, and he got stuck between the 2.
He really did. Just bang it across the goal there. End of the half. Let's cause some carnage, which he had done from far less positive positions. So yeah, it was a bit of a shame. But as you said, we got into half time with the lead, and you're thinking we've weathered the storm. We've had a good few spells there. As you say, we've had shots on target. We got the goal. At that time, it was pretty positive, wasn't it, mate?
Yeah, it was. We probably could do with another goal here, but we felt like we're in control of the game a little bit. We just thought, okay, that's exactly what you expect away from Villa Park, going 1-0 at half time against a Villa side that were obviously up for the game and had their own spells. And we thought, right, we've managed that well, getting half time, and then really kick on second half. I was feeling pretty positive at half time.
Me too. I was feeling positive all day, actually, until it went to 2-1. And even then, I thought we'd be all right. So, look, half-time, as always, I'll point you towards our friends at vintageunitedshirts.com. If you're new to the pod, they basically stock old replica Manchester United shirts, but they're all the originals. So they're all the shirts that basically got released back then. Names, numbers, Cantona, Schmeichel, Bruce, whoever you like from back in the day. They've got so many different selections. More modern greats as well. Your Ronaldos, the original Ronaldo, the Ronaldo phase 1, Rooney's. There's so many on there. So if you've got a particular favourite shirt, particular favourite classic player, get over to vintageunitedshirts.com. Use the promo code United100 and you will get 10% off the shirts, shorts and socks on Vintage United. You can also use Icons100 and you will get 20% off their artwork. So they have a few shots on there where there's paintings of Schmeichel, David Beckham. That's a particular favourite, I believe, and Fergie on there as well. So yeah, get over to Vintage United and, as I say, use those promo codes. And of course, if you want to become a member of the podcast, get to patreon.com/United100. Look at the different tiers on there. You'll have a chance to join in our Discord chat, which went from very, very buoyant to very quiet tonight, didn't it, Ben?
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, as we can sort of describe on this pod, it was very positive at half time. We're up for it. The lads on there we're having fun. We were in good spirits, and then it all went a little bit downhill second half.
There's only one solution tonight: is it get absolutely smashed, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, well, it looks like United players were playing like they were second half.
I will be. Give me a couple of hours. I'll send you some voice notes. Anyway, look, the second half started. Bruno picked up another yellow card, his 6th of the season, Ben. He's only just had a ban.
Yeah, he's relentless, isn't he? Let's be honest.
He is. Consistent. Consistent. At least he's keeping the consistency with his yellow cards, right? He's been the consistency with his goals, but he's kept that consistency with his yellow cards, and hopefully the goals are back too. Alanga had a shot saved following his own intercept and a 1-2 with Cavani. We had another David De Gea save on the 48th minute, and I was thinking, Ben, Matic is playing like he's not on a yellow. I know he didn't deserve his yellow, but he was playing like he didn't get one, and I was thinking, the last thing we need here is to go down to 10 men. But look, if you don't get that second yellow, then maybe I'll say you knew better than me.
Yeah, look, he's experienced enough to know himself, isn't he? But I must admit, my hand was in my mouth a little bit when he was going to a few 50-50 tackles and maybe chasing a few Villa midfielders at times.
Yeah, but you know me, I'm all up for. I mean, if every one of our players could get up to the level which is just a tiny bit below a red card every game, I'm absolutely up for it. You know me. So as long as they don't get red carded, then and as long as they're not suspended from 5 yellows all the time, of course, as well, I'm all up for it. And I have seen it a bit more recently, especially in the game in the Cup. We were certainly getting stuck in more than we have in recent months.
Yeah, well, you don't want a yellow card to completely dissolve your game and not be able to go into 50-50 challenges. Like, you still want them to be doing it, but you're right. It's that experience just to have the know-how to get that 1.5, isn't it? That orange card.
Yes, Scholesy was the best,
the master,
the best around. Yeah, and also getting your value for the yellow. Early in his career, he had a free run. Then the refs clocked on, and unfortunately started just booking him first foul every match. But we actually had a situation on the 50 seconds when Fernandes went down, and Watkins tried to pick him up, and Bruno, of course, wriggled away. You might say it's kind of childish behaviour from Bruno, but for me, it was such a much better reaction from those dark days back in the day when was it Mark Noble who carted Ander Herrera off the Upton Park pitch?
Yes.
And we all just let it happen. So I'd much rather that reaction where Bruno is basically wriggling around trying to get him into, trying to get Watkins in trouble. And I think Tellez came in and basically bodyguarded the situation. I'm way more up for this situation than that nonsense we had back in Upton Park. Still blooming annoys me to this day.
Yeah, well, you want a bit of fire, don't you? I mean, Bruno has enough fire to go around anyone, doesn't he? But that's what you want, especially from your captain. Like, at times it might be a little bit. What did you say? Childish? What did you say? Petulant, yeah, a bit petulant. Yeah, like at times it might be like that, but as long as it's against the opposition, as long as it's done in that way, then all for it, mate. Like I'm happy to have us have a player that opposition players, opposition fans don't really like. We've always had them. That's what you want in your team, but you want a player that's there. He's got the captain armband on. You can see the passion, you can see the fire, and when it's done like that, no, absolutely no problem with that whatsoever.
Always surprised me, Ben, I must say. Herrera didn't seem like the kind of guy who would get carried off a field, right?
No.
I don't know why he didn't react. It was crazy stuff that day. It really was. So yeah, this was far, far better. And of course, the fans are giving it a large one and whatnot. But Bruno did get his toe caught, didn't it? And went down. And Watkins shouldn't be trying to pick him up, basically.
Yeah, he got fouled. It was a foul on Watkins. Got stamped on the foot, and I'm not saying there's any malicious intent. Watkins obviously thought for some reason it was a dive, then tried to pick him up as in like, oh, come on, get up. So Watkins wasn't completely innocent in, no, he's just trying to help him up. It wasn't any of that. Watkins had his own agenda in there, and Fernandes didn't quite like it, so let him know about it.
Yes. Yeah, you know what, Ben, I've got to ask you. You're a bit younger than me, so sometimes I feel a bit, maybe I'm an old dinosaur. But yeah, you're laughing already. You know what's coming, right? I read today that United have basically chastised our own fans for chanting apparently about someone's height in the match against Wolves. Now, I'd guess the goal scorer was. Well, it depends. It depends how big you are yourself, whether you think someone's big or small, doesn't it? But I suppose Moutinho probably is on the smaller side, right? So, what's your opinion on all that, mate? I mean, I think it might be a step too far.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually seen the chance. I haven't seen that from the club as well. But so you bring in news to me there. But yeah, I mean, look, with chance, obviously there's a level that we all know it's in the sand that you don't need to go past and bring up anything. But it's like I remember being at the cup game against Villa in Old Trafford, and the Villa fans were chanting to Luke Shaw as he was taking a corner. You're just a shit. No, you're just a fat Matt Target, and it's like there's a lot of things wrong with that. He's not really fat. He's better than Matt Target, but the Villa fans are singing that, and it brings a bit of a laugh out of you. Do you know? I was laughing there, sitting there, because it's one of those fans are going to have that sort of and you've got there's a level to go to, isn't there? Right. So if you're calling someone a bit chubby, a bit fat, or a bit short, a bit tall, then I think it's all within the
in our defence, Ben. Right, in our defence, we sing about Wesley Brown being big, right? And we talk about him having orange hair. I mean, that's quite the combo. And we're singing that about our own player. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, I think there's a level you've got to say is
and today,
within jest.
Yip Yapstam is a big Dutch man. Who's to say if you say someone's big, that's not being prejudiced as well?
Yeah, no.
He's so stupid, honestly. I couldn't believe it. I was thinking, God, can I even go to Old Trafford again? Or will I be carted out in handcuffs for telling Crouchy he's a freak or something, you know?
Yeah, you can't be doing that, mate. You'll be out before you're even in the door.
But to be fair, I'm happy for anyone to call me a freak and all the rest of it as well. I just, you know what I mean? To me, I think that, you take the mick out of your pals, right, about these kind of things, and you take the mick out of opposition players about it as well. It's just, if it's something you'd take the mick out of your mate for, then pretty much it's fair game on the terraces, right? There's certain things you wouldn't say to your mate because it's beyond the pale, and you wouldn't do it on the terraces either.
Yeah, absolutely well put, mate.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that did get a chuckle out of me. But I might not be laughing when it all gets a bit more serious in the future. Anyway, look, mate, the first 10 of that second half, Villa really came out, not really testing Dave, but I noticed there was a severe lack of press. And I was thinking, is this something where we're trying to possibly maneuver through certain periods of the game without pressing? Because we know we can't press for 90 minutes. Right, we can't go from not pressing at all to pressing for 90 minutes. So do we say, after half time, we try and get through 10 minutes? I don't know. I'm just speculating. But it did seem that you go from being quite on the front foot to almost taking a break. Is that trying to get the battery refilled or something? Or am I making stuff up as I go along?
Or are we back to being half pregnant again, aren't we?
Maybe. Yeah, Ralph, you said it yourself, mate.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean though, because when you watch the games at the minute, it is that where it's pressing in moments or in certain stages of the game.
What I just clarified, Ben, I think Ralph is saying you can't be half pregnant, right? So when we're pressing, we are full pressing, right? We're full pregnant, if you like, and when we're not pressing, we're not at all. Right. So, and that's what I'm suggesting here. At the start of the second half, we weren't pressing at all. It wasn't as if Alanga was going and then Cavani was saying, oh, actually, I'm not going to go. No one was going. So I was wondering, and I'm asking you whether you think I'm barking up the wrong tree, as to whether possibly we are saying right, let's take the foot off the pedal for a few minutes because we know we can't last 90 pressing because logically you'd say we can't.
Yeah. And I think there are going to be moments in the game where you do have to manage it and do have to rely on being defensively sound. And let's be honest, in these first moments, I mean, the results there to see, isn't it, tonight? In that first bit that we're talking about now, it was proved to be okay to do that.
There was no testing of Dave at all, yeah.
No, we managed it fairly well, because I think when you do that, it's fine to do it as long as you make sure you're not too passively defending, isn't it? I think that's the very difference there. You don't have to be Greenwood, Cavani, and Elanga don't have to be going full throttle, but everyone behind them has to make sure that the spaces aren't opened up. So Villa can have the ball, they can have possession, they can have, I think, they must have had almost 70% possession in that first sort of 10 minutes that we're talking about, 10, 15 minutes of the second half. But that's fine as long as you're defending it well, which happened in that moment, but as we'll go into, didn't happen later on.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that when you're a good team, you call it taking the sting out of the game. You're away and you say, we took the sting out of the game. When you're not a top team, you question why you're not on the front foot. So at that point in time, we were ahead. We were relatively dominant. As I say, they weren't really laying a finger on us. We had a shot from Greenwood deflected wide on the 59th anyway. So we really manoeuvred through that period without too much of a scratch on us. Elanga won the ball on the edge of the box on the 60th and unfortunately just steered his left foot shot wide. I thought that one might be in, Ben. I really did. It was a golden chance, of course, crafted by himself through his desire and his ability to make the chance. But just a few too many times, Ben, wasn't it? There were a few too many of those chances for one of them not to find the corner. Not just Elanga, I'm saying the whole team.
No, and it was Elanga and Greenwood mainly that were having the bulk of the chances.
Well, at this stage, Ben, after an hour, they had 4 shots each.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant, which is absolutely amazing. We didn't have 8 shots, in 2 games or 3 games at stages a few weeks ago.
Yeah, no, you're right. So there's something right in saying that we are creating these chances. And this is what you've got to take the context of the game in as well, because up until we went 2-0 up, everything was going fine. Like you were watching these chances go and thinking, right, we've got to take one of these. Come on, we've got to make one of these pay, because we're getting the chances, we're making the chances on ourselves, and they were all different kind of chances. It wasn't the one where we were creating chances and they were getting these shots off. And it's hard to find criticism too much of Elanga and Greenwood, especially both of them, that were having the majority of the shots, because they weren't bad shots, were they? They were just not quite falling right, or not quite having that extra level of finesse or control on the finish for it to be able to nestle in the back of the net.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And before we get into, of course, the ecstasy and the agony of the final 30 minutes, I just want to reiterate and just get into the forefront of everyone's minds how bad it was before. You're talking now, we're talking about 8 shots between two people who are, have a combined age of 40, something like that?
Yeah, probably just under it.
Something like that. 8 shots in 1 hour from them, right? So just remember how bad it was. Just remember how badly we were losing. Just remember how overrun we were by awful team. Just remember, even when we were drawing games, we were overrun, massively overrun. Today, we weren't overrun. Today, we lost our way. We lost our minds. We shouldn't have done it. But just remember how bad it was before. Because at the moment, we are slowly moving in the right direction. We are. But we just need a bit of patience. And now we're getting to the last half hour and I might lose it myself. All right. But look, Greenwood had a chance from an acute angle. He almost found the far corner. I thought there was no chance, Ben, in that situation. Even Mason, with the standards that he's raised for those acute angle shots, he almost squeezed it in, didn't he? He's just got that blooming laser for that far corner. Of course, it was just off there, but it was very, very close.
Yeah, and obviously you're saying, look, he took it with his right and it was bound to curl outwards. But we've seen him score them before. We've seen him somehow find a way to slot it inside the post. So look, he's getting there, isn't he? I'd love him to score a goal, because I think he just needs that goal under his belt at the minute, I think, just to be able to then go on a bit more of a run, maybe a goal-scoring run. But you can see him getting his chances. He's getting the opportunities. It's only a matter of time before he sticks one away. Yeah,
I am not worried about Greenwood's goals whatsoever. The other parts of his game are coming on, and those goals will come back. You and me both know that. So, we just need one, and it will be, he he will go on a little run, I'm sure. Lindelof was very lucky 1 minute later not to concede right on the edge of our box. We're talking half a yard outside our box. And as you mentioned earlier, Luis was very lucky not to be booked from the subsequent break. It was, if you're giving yellows for stopping a break, then that was pretty much the worst of the lot.
Oh, it was obvious because I think the Lindelof one's a foul, isn't it? Like, let's be honest, I think it should have been pulled up, and then you felt the fans and the Villa players, you knew that foul from Luis was coming because they felt injustice of not getting the foul from Lindelof. So you knew the foul was coming. You could see it a mile off. And then once it came in, that's the most obvious yellow card because we're on the break. It's clearly in reaction to not getting the free kick on the edge. So, yeah, it should have been a booking every day of the week.
You've hit the nail on the head there. You're absolutely right, Ben. Lindelof, it was a total free kick. It should have been a free kick right on the edge of our box. And as I said before, this ref, he just balances it up all the time. And he gave the free kick because he had to, but he didn't give the booking because he's playing to the crowd as usual. Just the same, look, on the pod, we like to call him Stevie C, right? The Villa manager. And this ref is called Coot. It's pretty close to the word we're referring to with Stevie C. So, 2 peas in a pod, I think.
Yeah, be careful. Don't say it too many times, will you?
It's annoying. Scott stole that line off me. Stevie C's my line, If you're going to steal my jokes, at least mention me. Give me the credit.
Ridiculous, mate. Ridiculous.
Look, again, Ben, it's positivity until those goals go in because on the 64th, Ings sneaked round the back. Danger zone, absolute high alert. Varane, Lindelof and Dalot all reacting exactly how you'd want them to. Lindelof and Varane sandwiching in the middle and Dalot there exactly where, like a magnet to the ball to clear the ball away. At this stage, Ben, I must say, I was buoyant. We're leading, we're reacting to negative situations, and I really thought, mate, we were going to get it over the line. I really did. But again, another positive, when we, in previous weeks and previous months, at least one of that back four is not reacting. At the moment, I do see the team reacting as a team. I really do.
Well, I mean, up until this point, you had the exact comparison of days earlier when we played the same team and conceded a lot more gilt edge chances, looked a lot more likely to maybe make a mistake at the back or not quite react.
Yeah, mate. So, I mean, there were positive signs. There really were until it all fell apart. And as you said, Luis, he stepped on Bruno's hamstring, didn't he? Or stamped on Bruno's hamstring. It's one of those ones where when you're playing, you know whether it was on purpose or not. As a referee, you can never punish that because you can't really tell on the intent. But if I had to guess, he probably did it on purpose.
Yeah, I mean, everyone that's played football, you've probably been guilty of it yourself a couple of times, haven't you? When you know you can leave one on and it be an accident, then you kind of do it sometimes. But you're right, there's no way you can tell unless you're Douglas Luiz whether that's on purpose or not.
Me, Ben, leaving something, oh, no way. I won't have that.
Not that type of player, are you?
No, you know that. And then, look, we grabbed that second goal. 68th minute. It just seemed perfect, Ben. Coutinho was warming up, so we knew they were going to get a massive fillip of, their one of their biggest signing in years coming on. And so we kind of, at the time, I thought we had taken the sting out of it. Bruno Fernandes latching on to Fred's intercept and pass and cracking the shot in off the bar, just the way I like it. Crossbar and in, 2-0 to United. Massive celebrations over at the away end. And honestly, Ben, we really thought it was done then, didn't we?
Oh, we did. It was perfect then, wasn't it? The moment.
Oh, it was fantastic.
After Bruno getting stick from the fans, like you said, the Luiz challenge, it just all felt like it was how it should have been. It was that typical away day sort of feeling, wasn't it?
It was.
He scored.
Pressure builds, you're 1-0 up, pressure builds, you smack them on the break, and game over.
Yeah, it was emphatic, mate, wasn't it? And it was exactly what we thought we'd done right.
Yeah, it really was, pal. It really was. And unfortunately, look, 5 minutes later, we had a couple of nervy moments. Matic fired one at De Gea, didn't he? Getting a tackle in. De Gea had to be alert. And then Watkins, chance at the far post as well. And then 4 minutes later, Ben, Villa struck. Jacob Ramsey, unfortunately fed by Coutinho, had now come on. and it was a Fred tackle that just almost fell to him, didn't it? I think. I'm not sure who got last touch, but De Gea, no chance. And even then, Ben, I thought we'd hold on at 2-1. I really thought we'd hold on, but of course, the nerves started to kick in.
Yeah, they did. I thought the goal, I think it sort of relates to what we were trying to say before, is when you're defending, you just can't be too passive. And I think we let Villa, it's all right letting them have possession, but there's only so far you can let that possession go. And I just thought this goal was the highlight of that, because we allowed it to just them play the ball to get to the opportunities to get out inside our box. And it was like there was Greenwood, there was Fred, there was even Matic. One of them could have tried to put a tackle in. Neither of them really did. It was a half sort of tackle, and it's Fred trying to make up for what he's not done literally seconds earlier, and then that's what led to the goal. So yeah, it's just unnecessary pressure, just bringing it up on ourselves.
Yeah, Ben, and we need to wake up, and we need to wake up sharpish, that we are not a big scary team. We are not the kind of team who can be 2-0 up and the opposition are finished. At the moment, we're not good enough. The opposition still think they have a chance. They get one goal, they think, yeah, we've seen you on TV. We saw you at Watford. Right? We saw Watford blooming smack you across blooming London and back to Manchester. So we're not a good enough team. And I will say, Ben, in that 10 minutes after we went 2-0 up to when we went to 2-1, the effort went down. We weren't playing like a team who thought we needed to fight for this victory. We played like a team that thought we had the match won. As a fan, I thought we had the match won. And it's my right to think that, right? I'm a stupid fan. I'm watching on TV. It doesn't matter. The players, they need to stay professional. And we're not good enough, Ben. We're not good enough at 2-0 up to play like we played for that 10 minutes.
Well, not, because you need to control the game still. You need to, it's fine being 2-0 up, but then you need to make sure we finish the game 2-0. And you're right, there was enough left in the game, really, for anything to happen. You weren't thinking that as a fan, but as a player, and this is when it comes down to a mentality sort of thing, isn't it? Where it doesn't really, I mean, the echoes of Ronaldo's interview that he gave this week, I suppose, but it doesn't really matter what tactics, what shape, whether we're pressing, whether we're not pressing. This is totally down to a mentality thing where you're right, where the players can't think they've won the game at 2-0. They just can't, because Villa are still coming. Villa, of course, let them have possession, that's fine, but you've got to do it to a certain point, and you can't let momentum just get on top of us, because look, we did it with Wolves at home in different scenarios in a different game, but let the momentum get on top of us and then not be able to claw it back. And we were just letting it creep in here when it just didn't need to happen. We make our own mistakes, we make our own bad habits, we make our own pressure and bring it upon ourselves for this to happen.
Yeah, and that's what's annoyed me tonight, Ben. It really has. And Sancho was warming up when that goal went in. And of course, you know, and I was thinking at the time, lovely to have Sancho coming on at 2-0 up, chance to dazzle and be in that position. What do you reckon, Ben? From my view, after conceding, we should have cancelled that sub.
Yeah, I didn't agree with any of the subs tonight. I thought
they weren't great, were they?
The timings of them, the players that came on compared to the players that came off. I don't want to be too simplistic, but I thought they were too passive, because Sancho coming on, you're right, is the player he is. Let's take it right this moment in the form that he's in the situation he's in. He's not at his 100% most confident. He's not playing to his full potential, to his full ability. But bringing him on at 2-0, I get it. Giving the ball, he can keep the ball well. He can pass the ball well. He can take on. He can hold his 100%. Shape.
He can play as one of those weapons on attack. Right, we're under the cosh.
Yeah.
But we've got a cushion, right? We've got 2-0 cushion. He gets you a third, right?
Yeah, but bringing Elanga off as well, I think you lose something. You lose an extra bit of sharpness there. You bring a bit more passiveness there. Then I think if you're, put it in this respect, if you're Matty Cash, right back for Villa, and Elanga's gone off and Sancho's come on, I think he in his head he's thinking, right, I'm going to go forward a bit now, because Sancho he wasn't coming in the same moment that Elanga was in. He wasn't in the same frame of mind. He wasn't in the same, I don't know, directness to his play. And it came with his first touch. His first touch went about 5 yards the other way, didn't it? And I don't want to slate him too much, but I just thought it was the wrong sub to make in that. It didn't arrest the situation. I think it only played into Villa's hands in the way the game was going.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Absolutely. And I think, look, with Sancho, I think it's a reflection of the way the club is run, right? We basically bought Sancho this summer, but we were buying the Sancho that we wanted a year before. And the problem is, if we had bought Sancho when we should have bought him, which is last summer, not this summer, then we get a Sancho who's coming off an amazing season, full of confidence, banging him in. It's when he wants to come, he's ready to come, and we get him in when we should have got him in. What happened is he had an awful start to the season, an awful first half of the season last season for Dortmund because he wanted to be at United. And then he turned it on to get his move. And then he had the Euros where he missed the penalty along with Rashford that ended up with England not winning the tournament. Ollie let him go and run around the beach in Barbados. I won't mention his size because I know that's not allowed anymore. But it's a catalogue of errors, Ben, that leads us to having this player we've paid 75 million quid for, who's out of form, who's coming off a disastrous tournament. He's coming off a half a season for Dortmund. We should have signed him a year before. Simple as that. And it was a bloody reflection of the way this club is run. We always do things late. Me and Scott were talking about signing Bruno in the summer. We signed him in January. Everything is too blooming late. Solskjaer, matches too late until we made the change. Everything is too bloody late.
Yeah, you're right. And you look at Bruno, even like you said, Bruno, we could have signed him 6 months, even 12 months before, to be honest, because it wasn't a surprise when we signed him that we were signing a good player, because you looked at his record at the time compared to midfielders in his position across Europe, and you're like, well, obviously he's the standout player to go and sign in that position. It doesn't take a genius to work these things out. And you're right, it's that extra level of just being really lackadaisical, really being really laid back about it, and let it prolong it, and not getting it done quick and getting people in the door quick. You're right, it breeds a bad sort of attitude through the team, through the club. Of course it does. But I think if we go back to this very moment in time, bringing him on, I just thought it was the wrong decision. I just thought Elanga didn't look like. I mean, he did come off and had an ice pack on, didn't he? So maybe he pulled up had a bit of an injury.
Even then, Ben, it's 2-1 instead of 2-0. You make a different sub, I think.
Yeah,
you bring someone else on. It's just you're weakening. You're weakening the strength of the side. I'm not saying Sancho is not a better player than Elanga, but what I'm saying is in terms of strength of structure at the moment, the confidence levels, the way Elanga had played, I think Ralf should have cancelled that. I really do. Yeah. And 2 minutes later, Villa got their second, and oh God, Ben, I don't even want to say who scored it. And in fact, I'm not going to. Varane had an own goal in his mind, left the ball, tap in for Villa. I think Varane should have gone for it. I'd rather an own goal than him score. And he pulled out, didn't he, Varane?
But again, it was too passive. It was the lead up to it. It was letting them get the ball out to the wing, getting them play 2-3 passes to get into the position, and then they could take the pick the pass they wanted to. And I think you're right, Varane. I think, and both Varane and Tellers, I think, were ball watching a little bit and not really even paying attention to the Villa players around them. But you're right, like it was way too passive. And then when you get in that situation, it shouldn't be up to Varane to decide when he wants to try and score an own goal or make a last-ditch challenge. It's 5 seconds, 10 seconds before that's even happened that we're not letting him get the ball into the box. Yeah. We're not being too.
You're right.
Passive defender. I keep coming back to it because it's just being switched on. It's not anything groundbreaking. It's just we're 2-1 down. Villa have got the momentum. Of course they have. They bring Coutinho on. Of course they're going to try and go for it. And go 2-2. And all we did was play it into their hands. Yeah,
I'd agree with that, Ben. Look, what I would say is today we fell apart. Okay, we lost our minds. We fell apart. I didn't like to see it, but I understand why we did. I'll keep going back to it. I'll keep going back to how bad it was before. These players have got scars. They need to get those memories out of their minds, and they're still fresh. They are. We lost our minds. We chucked the game away. But in terms of the match as a whole, I do have some positive things to take away. I really do. I'm devastated, annoyed tonight. Many more things, but there are still some positives to take away from the game. Ben, we lost our minds. I don't want to see United fall apart after conceding, but I do kind of understand why we did. But I don't want it to continue, of course.
No, and I think it's not structural change that are needed now. It's game management and it's mentality.
Yeah.
That's the
And
two things that.
confidence.
Yeah, confidence. Yeah, I take that. But I think the two things, game management and mentality, that just let us down completely because we weren't able to one manage the game. And I think even that comes down to Ralph as well. I thought even his subs later on as well. I just thought they were too passive. They weakened us, and I just didn't agree with that. And I thought mentality from the players just to let it go. They're the two things that let us down tonight.
Yes, I'd agree. Let's get to those subs in a sec. There was a naughty nutmeg from Sancho. Delightful, I'd say, on the 85th. The pass, unfortunately, was lacking because we briefly hunted a winner. It was not a siege by any stretch of the imagination, but Sancho opened it up for himself there. He really did, and that was a chance, but it came to nothing. And as I said, we had lost our minds by this stage, and there was another shot from Coutinho straight at David De Gea on the 87th, as most shots were tonight, actually, apart from the goal. And then, as you mentioned, Donny van der Beek and Jesse Lingard came on for Bruno and Mason Greenwood on the 89th. Got to agree with you, Ben. That was that didn't make me think, here we go.
No, that made me think, right, that's it now.
Here we go home, right?
yeah, genuinely, them both coming on. I mean,
that's the end of the match.
Look at them both in terms of their impact on the squad, let alone the game tonight. I mean, Lingard, who I'll be absolutely amazed if he is still at United come the summer. Like we all know, he's out of contract. If he's not gone this month, he's gone in the summer. And you could almost get to the same conclusion with Donny as well. The fact that he can't get in the team and then he comes on in these games, and I just thought it was ridiculous, the subs, really. I just thought with Bruno and Greenwood, you're thinking, even the amount of minutes they played, you just thought, if we can just get a break on, like Bruno's second goal, really, if we can just muster up a break and one of them is in a decent chance, you can see an element where they score a goal or get a chance. And I just thought it was so passive in it. You look at both sides of the teams, if you're a Villa fan, you're probably thinking, right, well, that we're going to go even harder now for the last few minutes. And if you're a United player, you've got less of an outlet because both Lingard and Van der Beek are both players that come to the ball. They're not going to stretch defences too much, especially in the last few minutes. And I thought we just whimpered out the game a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, to just give the other side of the argument, I suppose. I mean, we're talking about the 89th minute here, right? There's hardly any time to go. And the team that was on the field was not producing anything at all, right? No. So maybe Ralph's looking at that thinking, look, we are going nowhere sharpish with the 11 we've got on the field. Let's try something, right? Let's just try something, anything. Donny and Jesse, they both got a bone to pick with me. They've probably got a bone to pick with the club. Chuck them on it and let's just hope for that, right? I mean, it wasn't as if Greenwood and Bruno were peppering the goal at this stage. We were in reverse at this stage as well. Just for a bit of balance. I don't agree with the subs. I didn't like them, but yeah, we were hardly tearing up trees.
No, we were, and maybe if we'd have made a sub, I don't know, made one of them a bit early or tried to implement something different. I just felt that when we were doing it, it was just weakened us even more.
And really, if you're going to bring on Donny, bring him on earlier. This poor old Donny is the 89-minute man, isn't he? It's crazy. Ollie, but we know Ollie spoke to Ralph, don't we? So he's like, well, first things first. Donny comes on the 89th minute, and Ralph's like, thanks for that.
It's written in his contract, isn't it? Almost
exactly. And then the ref, God, on the 90th minute, how long did he want to play that advantage for?
Yeah,
there were 2 tackles, and then he brought it back. I was thinking, what are you doing? He's so weak, he's awful. And then 94th, Ashley Young was stripping off the former Manchester United captain, if you can believe it. You might have deleted it from your memory like I have. Buendia was struggling at the time, and I was thinking, God, Ben, is this written as the worst nightmare here that we could possibly write, and that we've been 2-0 up, and Ashley Young's had come on and bang one in from 30 yards. Fortunately, he didn't get on the field. But you know what, Ben? There was zero urgency from Manchester United to get a winner. We played to the 96th minute.
And that's what, even with the subs and just the impacts and afterwards, that's what you mean. Like,
it was so bad.
If anything, you could only see a Villa winner. You genuinely couldn't see a United winner because we didn't seem bothered by just even trying to muster just to try and do something different or just arrest the situation.
I know, and that's why I have some sympathy for Ralf. Just trying something. We didn't have a deep bench tonight in terms of ammo to come on in the striker positions, and Van der Beek did get a chance, didn't he? In the 96th minute, I think that's probably the slowest turn and shot I've ever seen. It was like it was in slow motion, but somehow he managed to get the shot off, and unfortunately, mate, it fizzled out. As I say, no urgency at all, and from the moment they scored their goal, we went missing in action, didn't we?
We did, and I don't know. It just, I think there's possibly a little bit of, with Lingard and Donny come on it. I think the two players that, and I don't like to say it really in Donny's case, but it almost seems like the writing's on the wall, doesn't it, for the United future? And whether that's playing into my mind a little bit, seeing him come on and thinking, I don't know, there's just something in it that I don't quite buy into, because I don't see them both being at the club in 6 to 12 months' time. I
Yeah,
know that doesn't matter in a certain game tonight. I know that, look, if one of them pops up with a goal tonight, that it doesn't matter where they are in 12 months' time. But I don't know whether there's just a bit of a weird feeling when you see him coming on, and whether that just plays into my sort of passive feeling about it.
yeah, I know what you mean. I think when you're at the top of your game as a team, then all of these things become less of a problem. Right?
Yeah.
If someone's out of contract or someone's kicking up a bit of a stink, you still pick them. They score, it's no problem. When you're struggling like we are, when the confidence is at rock bottom like it has been at United, we pick on all of these things, and yeah, it's. But I agree with you, Ben. Ultimately, it didn't look right, did it? Donny and
No.
Jesse coming on for Bruno and Greenwood. You know, potentially, if you said who are the people who are going to get you the winner here, Bruno or Greenwood, are being replaced by Donny and Jesse. Yeah, it didn't seem quite right to me either. But that last 15 minutes didn't seem right, Ben. But look, mate, I do have to say I would much rather us play that badly for the last 15 minutes than for the blooming 95 like we were playing weeks ago. So, yeah, it was a horrible end. We fell apart. Our mentality is all over the place. Our confidence is still not where it should be, but it was still better for long stretches, Ben. So it's a confusing one tonight. It really is.
Yeah, it's one of those that we keep saying, don't we? Like, that we're reacting to what we've seen. We're not saying it's massive changes that need to be made, because it's not. We're getting slowly to a point, because for 67 minutes tonight, until when we got the second goal, Bruno stuck it in. We were happy with it. We thought, that's it. The trademark away performance at Villa Park is what I was thinking throughout my head, and you can play games from down the years of when we've gone to Villa Park, had a really tough game, but come out of it with a 2-0, with a 2-1, and you go on to the next game. And that's what we thought we had. And then you're right, the mentality, the game management just fell completely out the window, and we end up drawing the game. So it's improvements need to be made, but you're right, there's still some things I saw tonight that I wasn't seeing 6 weeks ago. So you've got to be happy about that, at
And don't
least.
forget, mate, we scored right on the around the 67th minute. They scored the
Yeah,
77th, so it was
true.
only
Yeah,
15
yeah.
minutes. But we are so good at being bad that we can spunk a match in 15 minutes, no problem.
Yeah, so we really need to sort that out, don't we?
But mate, look, as I said at the start, we need to stay calm here. I honestly, I've been annoyed about the performances recently. I've been annoyed about loads of things about Manchester United. But now, after we've got a new manager, he's an interim manager, and it's made me extra annoyed, extra sad the way the fans have been reacting as well. The way like I say, we've lost one match under this new manager, and yeah, he hasn't set the world alight, and the team haven't set the world alight, but we're far better than we were before. We really are. And tonight, I'm as pissed off as all of you. I really blooming am. But we need to be patient, because the thing is, otherwise, the way we're acting, our behaviour, our hysterical reaction to the slightest thing that goes wrong at Manchester United is going to end up making Manchester United incapable, of winning big things, because the fans are so bloody hysterical every time any tiny thing goes wrong. So, yeah, we're all emotional, we're all pissed off, but we do need to give this time. We do need to remember where we were, how bad it was, and just have a bit of patience. We're probably going to have a new manager in the summer, and just try and get through this season and not blooming wet the bed too much.
Yeah, we'll put it into a bit of perspective. I think if this would have happened in the cup game and would have got knocked out, say in the cup, and we would let it fall out and conceded 2 goals in the last 15 minutes and got out of the cup, then I think I have a bit of a stronger reaction because that's a very serious target. But when you look at it, this game in context of where it leaves us in the league for the goal for the rest of the season, which is get top 4, then it doesn't really affect it too much, does it? Let's be honest. Yeah. It doesn't put us back too many places or points because we're all right. That's still within distance. It's still within very reachable distance. So I think a bit of context doesn't go amiss, does it? When you're thinking about that and thinking about what's to come for the rest of this season.
And come on, have a bit about yourselves, guys. I mean, it's West Ham, Tottenham, and Arsenal above us. I mean, come on.
Oh well, Arsenal they cried off this weekend anyway, haven't they? So I think we've got a bit more about us than them 3 above us.
Yes, mate. Have you got a man of the match today?
Yeah, I mean, it's always a difficult one, isn't it, when the game ends like that? But I think the 2, well, I was going to say 2 or 3 then, but I think that's a bit of a cop-out, that, isn't it? Bruno's got to have it, and he with the goals. I know it's a goal scorer, and you don't like me picking the goal scorers, so I
don't mind. It's just funny.
I'll give a shout to Mason as well, and and I was going to say Elanga, but I'm going to go through the team here, so I'll say those 3 in that order. Will do me.
Yeah, mate. Anything else to add on the game?
No, I think we've covered it pretty well, haven't we? This is the stuff we say. This is why we do the pod, because we criticise what we see. We're annoyed. I'm a little less annoyed after doing the pod than I was when starting it, which is always good to get it out of your system a little bit. And we move on. We've got Brentford on Wednesday, so we've got a good game to have really next, because it's back into it. It's away from home again, and we're going to come up against not a similar opposition, but similar sort of problems and similar sort of hopefully positive. So it's get rid of the mistakes and then go again.
Yes, man. Brentford is on the doorstep of where I grew up, mate. So Brentford is I mean, it's so close to where I grew up. I could walk there in 20 minutes, no probs. Down to Griffin. Well, it was Griffin Park back then,
Yeah, so it's the TC Derby, is it?
Well, yes, indeed, mate. Yes, indeed. I'll have to call my little brother. I've been putting United shirts over his head since he was born, but I know a few of his mates support Brentford, so I need to check up whether I have to disown him or not. Mate, before we finish, let's have a little fantasy Premier League chat, because I know we have had, of course, carnage in recent weeks with the cancellations, etc., etc. But I believe you have Bruno Fernandes as captain this week, mate.
Oh, the 2 subs I made this week. It's not gone all right, and I'll come on to that. But two transfers I had in were Rafael Varane and Bruno. And Bruno captain.
Oh, so you didn't want Varane to go for that ball at the end?
Yeah, that too. But I thought he was getting a clean sheet up until a certain point.
Much rather than own goal.
Yeah, Bruno captain. I just thought after seeing him against Villa down the middle, which I haven't spoken about a lot tonight, but I will see that a lot. He's much more better down the middle. I think when we play him in his best position, when we build the team around him, then we're going to get the best out of him, because I think he's that good. And I just felt like that he's just got something to offer in these 2 games. Obviously, it was the right choice to put him captain.
Yes.
But I won't cover myself in too much managerial glory, because I had Conor Gallagher as my 3rd sub, who I think got something like 9 points, didn't he? And he was in your team, so
he did. He was starting for me, mate. Don't worry about it.
But
is he going to get off the bench maybe, because Arsenal Spurs have been cancelled?
No, we had a bit of a nightmare, and Ollie Watkins was my 2nd sub, and I've absolutely had a nightmare there. And he's coming in got a single point, I think.
What if? So what you need is for Spurs not to play in the week, right? Emerson Royale not to play. I know all about your team, mate. Don't worry, I've got my eyes on everyone. But yeah, mate. I mean, I must say I brought in Bruno this week as well. So at least we know our stuff, mate. Right?
Yep.
And he was also my captain until about 4:30 yesterday.
Oof.
And I thought, you know what, with Ralph blooming phased me. It's blooming Ralph's fault, because he obviously passed Ronaldo fit, didn't he? And I thought, if you look back through the season, you have to go for Ronaldo. If you've got both of them, you don't have Ronaldo, right? So I had Ronaldo and Bruno. And although I had a good feeling about Bruno, And last minute, I switched to Ronaldo. But it's not over yet. We've still got Ronaldo against Brentford. But we're pretty happy about that, mate. The Bruno return today, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Off the back of I had Jared Bowen captain the previous game week, I thought, here we are. We're going
I
great
went for
for the
Antonio.
captains.
Your captains are on point at the moment, but it is not finished yet. So yeah, I've slipped up to third, moved up to third. I've got second in my sights as well, I think, with this double game week. And you look like you're making moves too, pal.
Well, we're creeping up. I think
We are.
there's only a few points, isn't it? Let's be honest, from about what is it? Really, fifth, sixth to second. It's pretty
Yes.
close, isn't it?
Yes, mate. I mean, I personally, I banked on the Tottenham's game being cancelled. So I thought that it was going to be cancelled. Basically banked on that. I took a gamble and it's paid off. So hopefully, yeah, it's hard at the moment though, isn't it? I mean, you basically have to leave your transfers to the last hour, 2 hours of the transfer window and make them then because of the cancellations and everything. It's a bonkers season, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen United, a couple of teams got a double game week this week, and that's only going to happen even more, isn't it, in the back end of the season with the rearranged games? So that is, the two things are double game weeks and late transfers. Absolutely.
I personally, I don't agree with too much Gary Neville spouts out these days. He's definitely turned to the dark side a little bit. But when, I believe he was saying, I think earlier today, that basically just everyone has to play from now on, no matter what. I totally agree with that. You play your youth team, you play your reserves, you play your first team, whoever's fit you play. Simple as that. Because now it's getting a bit silly, isn't it? It's getting to the stage now where teams are basically manipulating the situation and you believe them pretty much as Novak Djokovic.
Yes. No, absolutely though, mate. Because look, COVID is an unprecedented thing that we're still getting to grips with. And if a team has got a high number of COVID cases, absolutely you can understand the frustrations and the wanting to get a game called off. But then when it's factoring in injuries, when we're factoring
African Nations Cup,
African Cup of Nations, then it's like, well, these are things that you would have in any season anyway. So you can't have a game called off because you've got 4 or 5 first teamers injured. That's what you've got. And when you're a club like Arsenal size, give me a break. Like, have you not got any players in the youth team that you can put on the bench, that you can put in the team?
Exactly.
Deary me.
Yeah, exactly, mate. So yeah, I totally agree with that. I think there needs to be a line in the sand and say the league plays in its entirety or it stops in its entirety. So you can make as many positive tests as you want, Klopp. You can have your 40 positive tests signed off by a Serbian doctor, but it's not going to wash anymore. We basically either have to all play or all not play because now people are picking and choosing, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate.
Yes, absolutely, mate. Well, listen, anything else to add?
No, that's it from me.
Yeah, it's a weird one tonight, isn't it, mate? It could have been so bloody nice.
It could have been. I thought it would have been. In the end, it wasn't. But look, take it in context.
Mate. Let's go and get smashed. Anyway, thanks for joining us again, everyone. As usual, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Keep those reviews coming. Keep those 5-star reviews coming as well. If you want to become a member of the pod, get over to patreon.com/United100. Get a few perks there. You'll get an extra loyalty card over at Vintage United Shirts too, and our competition every month as well. If you want to get over to VintageUnitedShirts.com, check out all their different shirts from the past, back from the 90s, back from the noughties, back when we were top of the league, Ben, back when we were smashing it. Get your mitts on those absolute beauties. Use the promo code United100 for a 10% discount on shirts. Icons100 for a 20% discount. A little bit more on that artwork if you want David Beckham or Fergie staring down from your walls. And mate, look, we'll be back after the Brentford game, hopefully back to winning ways. But as I say, look, guys, let's take this step by step. Let's be a bit patient. Let's not get too upset and too over dramatic. I know the papers love to dig United out. When we're winning, we're the best in the world, and when we're losing, we're the worst team that's ever lived. As fans, let's keep a little bit of balance and let's bounce back in the week.
Absolutely, mate. Let's try and keep level-headed in this season, which is pretty hard.
Says the guy who's just about to go and get smashed. Ben, thanks for joining me again, mate.
Nice one, guys. Speak soon.
Take care. Cheerio, Reds.